Morning, storytelling run. So quick adventure ideas. Yeah, these are they're all doozies, right? Okay, so here we are. Jimmy Fallon mocks Oklahoma State Senator for proposed porn ban. Yeah, it's as cringe as you'd think. So I remember as a kid, comedians go around, there was a joke. 99% of men masturbate and 1% lie. That was the joke. And so everyone's all cracking up. So I just remember comedians. I feel like they were servants of the Democrats, or servants, because they all had the same jokes against the same conservative values. It was pretty consistent. I don't know. It was just so weird. And the ones that were on TV and stuff. Anyway, so it's, I guess, even today, as far as like the ones that get, the in the popular media. All right, so how do we do this as a role-playing game, especially for lessons for kids? So obviously the left is going to make fun of us for fighting porn. The only people fighting porn are Christians. I remember a guy, an Iraqi veteran, saying that the most porn he'd ever saw was in Iraq or Afghanistan. All the poor, squalid farmers' men. He'd go into these dusty, worn out places, and they had huge collections of porn. Their women were chattel, and they were addicted to porn, and they had their dusty rooms and decrepit, but just whatever, stacks and stacks of porn. So that's how the Islamic Afghanistan men lived, at least on his account. Okay, so porn. Horror, it's huge. It's massive, and we're allowing it to happen. All the comedians are joking that it's normal to do that. It's fine. Well, thankfully, it's not. And the first person that learned this after me being a Christian learned it was my daughter, and she had this expectation then of her boyfriends, and one left her because of it. So, literally. And she even got me involved in it. And he would not, wow. Okay, so he wouldn't, he like, she said, look, you don't have to quit. You just have to know about Jesus. And no, that was just too much for him. And so she said, yeah. And wow. Okay, so I'm still remembering that. So yeah, they're going to keep pushing porn. They're going to make fun. They're going to totally make fun of us Christians, and it's so pathetic. As they, I'm going to be graphic here, as they pull down their pants and masturbate to porn. That's what they're doing on their computers. In between, they're mocking and scoffing me. That's what they're doing. So I'm just glad I don't hold touch the same mouse as they do. Okay. Yeah, I'm being really dark and cynical and jaded and sarcastic and everything else about that. It's pathetic, and we need to say it's pathetic. We need to rebuke it openly, publicly, because they rebuke and openly mock us. It's just, and here we are trying to be coy about it. So a role-playing game. How do you do this in a role-playing game? Because we don't want to put porn in a role-playing game. I would say that the way to do it for me is to have the village or the people have the women become dancers. They want them to be dancers, and they don't want them to be locked up in their homes and raising children, and just come out and be beautiful and with the pageantry and the parade of dancers. Bring all your daughters out. We don't need you to be stowed away in your kitchens and show like this culture where they're all about pageantry, and the men are all like, oh yeah, it's a bit edgy, but I don't know, something like that. If you all have any better suggestions about this, what it is a lesson in hedonism. We're trying to teach that hedonism is just a destructive to the culture. The women will not be they're taking care of raising the children, being mothers. We need to show that in an adventure where that is the strongest character of a woman, is to take care of the home, which happens to be the most important thing to a man. And yet here they are making, mocking it in a way and wanting them to be porn stars. Do you ever hear like of the left ever mocking porn stars or prostitutes or people, OnlyFans people? Like, do they ever like, mock them in that sense? Or do they ever mock, but yet you hear them always mocking a housewife or a mother, belittling it. So something like that, like the women are in a pageantry of dancers. There's a sorcerer, obviously a man manipulating the witches who are manipulating the women to come out in their best sundries and jewels and dancing and partake in the celebrations away from, those things. And then the men, of course, are not working. They're not farmers anymore. So you could have some sort of pageantry thing like that to show that sort of hedonism is destructive to the culture. I'm just popping up ideas here. I'm just trying to figure out a way, but this is obviously a very important issue that we need children to be aware of. And obviously I don't want to do the porn part of it, but I want to do the hedonism, selfishness and lust part of it in some way that we can identify, that kids can see, oh yeah, that's pretty bad, that just go out and party all the time and, or something like that. Anyway, let me move on. Please think about it. If you got better ideas, yes, please let me know. But we do need to address the hedonism in some way in the games. Okay, the only Denny's in Oakland, California, is closing after more than 50 years due to crime. So, I used to love Denny's. I haven't gone in a while. But their Moons Over My Hammy I just had to get that every time. Moons Over My Hammy. I love that. And I've always tried to replicate that here at home. Actually, I might do that today. Anyway, I actually do have some whole wheat bread. I could try it. I don't have any ham though. Anyway, okay. I'm thinking about Moons Over My Hammy. Okay, let me move on. So in Democrat pagan run places, there's so much crime. I've read this once about a guy who went to Africa, missionary work, I believe, or nonprofit, but he noticed in where he was at that there was so much thievery. And the only people who tried to set up like a real market or a store, like a brick and mortar store to like start a business there, were foreigners. Like they would come from India or China or wherever they were coming from, and they would set up a place. But within a year or two, because of all the thievery, they had to close down. And so then a new foreigner would come in and fail as well. And he noticed that the society there was so full of failures, or the economy was terrible because thievery was so commonplace. Everyone stole from everyone. So you go into a village or a place and everyone is stealing from everyone. There's the village looks like a compartmentalized fortresses of gangs that constantly steal from each other. And there's no, you can even look at there's a field of crops out there that are all dry and dead. No one's farming. Because maybe there's roving bands of youth and gangs coming and will steal from the missionaries immediately. And so they have to deal with that. They would literally come up to you and just take your stuff, not realizing you're going to fight back or confront them or deal with it. But, and then they got to deal with it. They got to preach to them. They got to rebuke them right on the spot. I would make it some sort of hooligans, and then learn. And then if they can defeat them or preach them and convert them, they could tell them about what's going on in the village and how everyone is just stealing from everyone. And then of course, whatever local baron or lord is there is locked up in his fortress, and comes out and steals from everyone else. That's a legit factional epic kind of 3 or 4 campaign arc right there. You got to deal with all the different factions. And I would definitely give each one like a beast that they have as their new weapon or tool against the other gang. Maybe one's got a bear, one's got a lion, one's got a dragon. They're all like as their pets against each other, like trying to form a new weapon to conquer the other little neighborhood or faction. They each one's got a witch, one's got a bear. The Lord has a crocodile or an army of men. So you could kind of create this little faction of different groups, and each with their own obviously desire to defeat the others. And then when the Christians come in, they got to deal with each of these factions and try to get them to forgive. There's even that I mentioned before, the tip of the spear story where the Christians went in. True story of the Christians. It's called End of the Spear, I believe, or End of the Spear. It's a movie. It's a pretty good movie. It's a low budget, but it's actually, you get engaged in it really quick. But it's about a group of Christians who, like in the Was it no, not 1940s. They went to 1950s, but it's today too. The grandson is there, or he's pretty old now as well. But they converted this group of Indians, and the Indians said, the chief said, if the Christians hadn't come and Christianized us, we would have all the tribes in the area would have just killed each other over vengeance. Like we would have went extinct because of our continual heretical vengeance upon each other. And it was through forgiveness that we stopped that vengeance killing and started forgiving each other and becoming civilized. So you could have that sort of a culture too, where there's a culture of vengeance, and that is their only solution to each other in this gang warfare, valley of villages that are all gang warfare against each other. And again, using, and I would fantasticalize it by adding a gruesome feral bear. One witch has a gruesome in a possessed bear. One sorcerer has a magical fire powers, that everyone's afraid of, and he runs that gang. And another one has poison that all the warriors have poison on their spears or whatever, and so they're dangerous in that way. So there's you can have that, but it's all about vengeance. It's about they want to kill the other person who killed my forefather. And you got to deal with that and have the character players deal with that. Okay, I'm just coming up with ideas, and this could be in any setting: the Dark Ages, the Apocalypse, and Christians in space. Let's go on to the next one. All right, radical leftists threaten to bird dog conservatives at home. This is I was going to do a video on this separately, but this is a very important thing that the pagans do. Vengeance. They use hate. They love to hate, and they must identify you as hate in order so that they can hate. Hate is their strength, their power, their enslavement. They must declare you so evil so they can hate you. And that's the true essence of evil. All right, they want to, well, I don't know if it's the true essence, but it's definitely a major essence of evil, is to hate. And the only way they can hate is to lie about you, slander you, bear false witness upon you, so that they can just identify you as hatred. And that's actually what we do in the role-playing games, right? They always make the villains completely hateful, so they can go and willingly murder hobo everybody. Now there is true evil. There's true evil. There certainly is, and you will confront it, and you must confront it generally with violence. But you have to figure out who the true evil is, and then who are just being led astray by it. You have to be discerning in that sense, and hopefully try to save some of those. And I mean, in one of my stories, they converted the witch, the source of the red cult in the story, and I allowed it. I think I rolled a nat 1 for her, so I was like, you know what? I was going to make her completely violent and die and show them, you still have to fight evil, but she rolled a nat 1 or something, and I was like, I had to change it. Like even for me, casting of the lots has forced me to change the story. So now she's an interesting little character, side character that's peaceful and hopeful and all that. So they will create these. Once Christians are coming into an area, or they've heard of these Christians, they will create these attack groups, right? That come after the Christians. They will inflame this group as a mob and get them to hate the Christians, the church. So even after, say, like you establish they establish a church in an area, you can come up with a story where they got to go back and help it, or they're being hunted by groups of people who think and they should be like, in this story that I'm going to be doing soon, a role-playing game setting for this very soon. I'm just trying to finish this Kickstarter and get these all finalized, the second edition, with the polished rules that I really love. In that one, the black slaves were told by the Spanish and Portuguese and French that the British, who were trying to liberate them, they told them that they were white devils and cannibals, that they would eat the blacks, the Africans. And so the African slaves were more afraid of the Royal Navy, the British Royal Navy, the Christian men who were trying to liberate them, than they were of their own horrific slavery and genocide. So these groups of roving, pagans that are out there hunting the Christians could be the white devil. They call him the white devil. You're the white devil. You're, going to eat us, and we will not allow it. You worship the God who dies in eats his own self bread, like, because the whole communion thing, the blood of Christ, you eat the blood of Christ, so you're cannibals, some absurdity like that, where you could do that kind of a thing. So that's another wonderful modern day pagan that just shows you what they did in the past and what they're doing today, and it's all the same. So those are 3 adventure ideas to mull around in your head about how to run For the Lord RPG Christian adventures. Just giving you some ideas, because I know For the Lord RPG, playing a Christian in a Christian role-playing game where you're an actual Christian in an actual real fantasy. This is like where fantasy actually comes from. Is tough. We have been brainwashed and lulled to forget this stuff. And I say now, we've been purposely. And I'm not saying the individual people who create role-playing games are evil in themselves. I know, I'm not saying that. I guess I'm implying that. But I'm not saying that. I'm saying that we all have been lulled. And we all think that the habit of role-playing games is paganism. Is just, we just have a bad thing. We got to go search that out and fight it and get treasures and go back. And that's, and gain levels and get more powerful and become God like ourselves. And, that's all we know. That's all we've been taught. And I'm trying now to expand us out to, no, we have been brainwashed, hoodwinked, bamboozled, because the real history of medieval history and of fantasy is way more intense. And it was always about Christianity pushing into paganism and waking the people up to the horrible end game of paganism. All right, so that's it. I just want to do another quick video on For the Lord RPG. Please check out my Kickstarter. Check out the website for the game, the first edition. I got to put an errata up there. Just a couple things that really make it a second edition. But it's all the same rules. I just clarifying and building up a little bit on the rules that I really love as you progress in the game. Okay, that's it. Okay, in the game of, I got more stuff coming. In the game of life, roll holy dice.